Hello, everyone. This is Will Chambers from Hiscox Insurance, and thank you for being able to join us today. Whether it's morning for you or afternoon, it's afternoon for me on Central Time, just about. And so today we're going to be going through the Appulate training of the Hiscox product, and that's going to be brought to you through your appointment with All Risks. So Hiscox works with the wholesale channel, and so you'll be accessing our product through All Risks, as maybe you already do through our Hiscox Now portal. So the presenters today, I'll go through webinar logistics first. So, thank you, Vanessa, if we can go back there. So due to the size of the webinar, we're not going to be taking any questions during the webinar. Everybody's going to be muted, and then questions will be answered at the end of the session. Please go ahead and type in those questions into the side panel. And when you have that, you can do that throughout the webinar, and then we'll look at that at the end. And this will usually take about 30 minutes to 35 minutes to go through, so not the whole hour. Okay, and so some quick introductions. Who we have on the call is, first of all, myself. So I'm going to be representing both Hiscox and All Risks on this call. So I work for Hiscox. I'm a partnership manager that manages the All Risks relationship. So if you're familiar with the Hiscox Now portal, I manage that relationship with All Risks on our end. And then also you've got Vanessa Kamara on the phone, VP of Operations for Appulate. Okay, so before we kick off into a demo of the portal, I just wanted to go through a couple of pieces that are going to be really important for you when you look to access Hiscox General Liability through Appulate. So when should I, as the agent, be using Appulate to quote Hiscox products? So definitely want to make sure, if you're already quoting other products for your customer, especially if it's workers' compensation, something like that, and you know they want general liability as well, and you're already in the Appulate platform, that's a great time to try out the Hiscox General Liability product through your appointment with All Risks. So that's the first one. And the second one is if Appulate is your preferred system. So one of the main reasons why Hiscox partnered with Appulate and was providing this to All Risks and their agents is because we want to make sure that we're catering to you, the agent, and where you are on a day-to-day basis. So if Appulate is your preferred system, please use this opportunity to get to Hiscox products through All Risks through this system. I do want to stress, however, that we only have general liability through Appulate right now, so this is not going to be a substitute for the Hiscox Now portal that you might already be using. The Hiscox Now portal has professional liability, general liability, and business owner's policy on there. So if you're used to using that portal, this isn't to discourage or move away from that. This is more about the top two pieces, if you're already in Appulate or if it's your preferred system. I'll go over the why a little bit when we do the demo as well, but I just wanted to mention a couple of key reasons why it's useful to use the Appulate platform to quote Hiscox products. So one is that you can preload information on the core document that you've already got from your insured. You can preload that into the Hiscox application on Appulate. Okay, so that's a key feature. That with the Hiscox Now portal, there isn't that pre-fill capability. So that's something that makes Appulate a bit more enhanced, less data entry potentially for you. Also, there's a live quote status that we'll go into in a little bit more detail in the future, but that will give you real question by question feedback on whether the risk is still going to fit Hiscox's appetite. That's very important. And then also, while you're filling out the Hiscox General Liability questionnaire on Appulate, an application form is going to be generated while you're filling that out. So if you wanted to try out more carriers and approach All Risks with the application and ask them to get more quotes for you, you can do that with the information you filled out. You're not going to have to re-key information or send an email with the information in it. Instead, it's going to be doing the work for you. So just wanted to focus in on those things before we get started. But with without further ado, we're gonna kick off into the demo.
Thank you, Will. I have just a couple of slides to go through, and then we'll go ahead and get through that live demonstration, which I'm excited to show you today. I just wanted to chime in here quickly with a little bit about who Appulate is. For those of you that may not be as familiar with it, Appulate is a technology company. That's how we fit into this picture. And our commitment is to you, the agent, to empower you by expanding your markets, automating your workflow, and saving time and money. We've done studies on the time savings here. And as you can see through Appulate, there are real dollars to be saved per agent per year. That's over $7,000. So without further ado, let's get right into our live demonstration. And then I'll bring back this contact information so that you can take down Will's number in case you have any other questions or need some assistance. All right, so as Will mentioned before, one of the key components here is that if you have an Accord form filled out, you do not have to rekey this information into Appulate to get a quote. So to do this, you'll just Appulate it. In other words, you'll print your Accord form from an Accord PDF, as I have it on my screen, or from your agency management system. Appulate's Uplink tool works with any agency management system to bridge the Accord form over to keep you from rekeying. So once you print the Accord form, choose the Appulate Uplink as your printer option. Once you click print, it will ask you to confirm your Appulate credentials. Hit send. And on this next page here, it may ask you to verify the line of business. All right, so general liability, of course, is what we're working on. Once we click continue, it'll take us right into Appulate. So here we have the insured that was created from the information that was on the Accord form, created the general liability option here. And now our first step is to choose the market. So we will choose all risks from the list, and that will bring up their questionnaire. To the right-hand side of all risks, you have a letter indication that will help guide you through the submission process. It will tell you any questions that are missing and required, and it will also give you a real-time status. So if you have this D decline, always hover over it. It will give you a reason why. In this case, it's because of past effective date, which some of you may run into because your Accord form is outdated. Not a problem at all. It's still bridged over that information, and you can update that date right within the Appulate system simply by clicking on the date here. You can see when you hover over it, it's a live link. And click on the calendar and go ahead and update that. Okay, so these statuses again are in real time. Now it's showing us all of the questions that are missing and required, which we will answer down below in the SMART questionnaire. Those questions have a red asterisk next to them. You can also see at the top of each heading here how many questions you have left to answer before you click on the submit button. Obviously, the more complete your Accord form is, the less questions you'll have to answer once you're here in Appulate. So bear with me as I go through and power through some of these questions. I will point out here that when you run into a collection of data, that it shows up in this table, and you'll see an asterisk that sits just outside of it. Go ahead and click on this drop-down menu, and then you'll see the missing question within this collection here. So we will go ahead and answer this one as yes. Click next and keep working our way through it. Now, there are sections, as you see on my screen here, that are heavy with yes/no questions. I do want to point out this helpful button here on the right-hand side that says mark all as no. So you could mark all as no for this section. It will answer all of the questions in this open section as no. Of course, do review that and make sure that if you need to mark any of these or change any of these to yes, you do so. Keep working your way through it. Or I will mention that if you hover over the letter indication, these are live links. So if you ever get lost in the process or can't exactly figure out where a question is that you're trying to answer, use the live link and it will take you directly to where that question is missing and required. put a big red box next to it.
And so as Vanessa's going through this, I did just want to restate some of the why of using Appulate again. So that live quote status that I mentioned, that's what that orange A is right now. So as Vanessa mentioned, that's something that gives you real live feedback about what you need to answer or why you might have got declined. Whether it be past effective date at the beginning, which is an easy fix, or it could be because of one of your answers to a question. So it gives you that really concrete reason on where you stand in the application. The other thing is when you look at the left-hand side, when Vanessa goes up to the top, you'll see the forms section. So this is another piece where there are actually either Accord forms or we're going to be building in Hiscox, true Hiscox applications in here as well, where as you're filling out this information, the information is being pushed onto these forms as well. And you'll see that there's an email option on the right-hand side of those forms, right to the right-hand side of the page. And what you can do is you can actually then send that document by email to All Risks to be able to get other quotes, other options for it. So that's going to be something really important. We're going to be putting in our Hiscox applications for most of our classes. So all of the information you're putting in here will be going into that application. And so you've got a much stronger, more detailed application that then if you wanted more options than just Hiscox's, you could always reach out to All Risks and provide that application and get more options faster and more efficiently.
Thank you, Will. All right, so we have a green A for accepted. We have a green submit button here, which is ready to click on. That's what we want, but a couple more things before we do. I just want to point out that there's a limit section here, which you can edit. So if you wanted to change these limits, for example, we'll do 1 million, 2 million here. You can update those and click on them. And again, to do that, you just simply click on the limit and it will expand this worksheet for you here. Same thing goes for the deductibles, and quote parameters here will allow you to edit that as well. All right, so we want to go ahead and submit for our instant quote. So we'll click the green button here under action that says submit, and it'll take just a few seconds here for it to produce an instant quote that we can open up and review. It will be in the Appulate system so that you can access it at any time. And you can pull that into a PDF to take that outside of Appulate should you need to. So here's the quote right under Hiscox. To open it up, simply click on it. Again, it opens it up in a PDF. You can access this at any time from within the Appulate system, and you can extract this PDF from the Appulate system. Will, anything that you wanted to mention on this quote here?
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. So for those of you that are familiar with the Hiscox Now portal, you'll be familiar with this quote document. So this is exactly the same one that you would get if you went through the Hiscox Now portal directly. And so what it'll have is it'll have your information on there, the business information, as well as the limits and the payment options for you on here. So really everything that you'd need. And similarly, as you can from the Hiscox Now system, you can also send this quote document over to your customer to see what they think of the offering.
Thank you, Will. All right, so you could do that right from within the Appulate system. There is these three dots here on the right-hand side. If you click on it, it says send by email. So you can send it right over to your insured right from within the Appulate system. Or as I mentioned before, you could certainly take this outside of Appulate by turning it into a PDF. Once you have decided to move forward, there is a request to bind button here on the right-hand side that you can click on that will launch the Hiscox Now portal. So the bind is done through Hiscox Now. I'll go ahead and click on proceed with binding, and will talk us through what to do on this page here.
Perfect. Thanks, Vanessa. So again, what you're doing in Appulate is you're really submitting the risk. And then you go through to Hiscox Now and the program to actually go through and actually bind that and pay for it yourself, the way that you usually do with Hiscox Now. If you're not too familiar with Hiscox Now, just note that it's 100% admitted products, PL, GL, and BOP. It's direct bill, so we always recommend that the agent uses the customer's either debit or credit card for payment. And then upon payment, that is the bind. So the policy is in place as soon as successful payment goes through. And then within 30 minutes, automatically, policy documents will be sent to yourself. They'll be sent to all risks, and a copy will be sent to the customer as well, so that everybody's got that copy, along with a certificate of insurance, because we know that a lot of times your customers will need they'll need a certificate of insurance immediately, sometimes even yesterday, for projects that they're on. So we've got that covered. Also with the Hiscox Now platform, it's automatic renewal as well. So you'll just keep on getting commission with no touch point at renewal through the lifetime of the policy. So that's just a couple of things on the Hiscox Now platform if you're not aware. If you are aware, you'll notice this screen. This is usually what comes up after you've put in the class of business and the state. And so here you'll see that general liability for plumbing, it's the only option that we have. If you were putting in a different risk, like a management consultant risk through Appulate for general liability, you'd actually get more products here. You'd get our PL, our professional liability, GL, general liability, and the BOP as options. For here, you'll just see it's general liability, and that's already ticked because the information has flowed through from the Appulate system into the Hiscox Now portal. So Vanessa, you can click continue here. Thank you. And so as you'll see here, when we go through, if you look at the top, you'll see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with regards to the journey, user journey here. As we go through, you'll see on pages 2 and 3, it will be all the information that you've filled out on Appulate will be pushed through here. So you can go back through, make sure it's the information that you want, but this is going to be the information that you put in Appulate. So you can just fact check it, continue, and then you can do the same on the next page. You can fact check that, and then you can click continue if there aren't any additional services that the company does. And then you'll go through to the quote page, and this will be the premium that showed up on Appulate. You'll now see it on the quote page, which is that $875 for the annual payment. And then there's also that monthly option as well. 0% interest on the monthly option, but it's a 25% minimum earned premium for the blue collar stuff, and then 2 months down payment for the rest. Here you've got an option. You can change the limits again, as you had that option in Appulate. You can also add business, property, and equipment coverage, so tools and equipment. You can add TRIA, waiver of subrogation, primary and non-contributory language. So there are a couple of different things that you can add at this point. We'll just go ahead and scroll down and not add any of those, just for the ease of use of this. So if you click, Vanessa, really quickly on the important information piece, this is where you'll see the warranty statement, basically showing that there have been no claims, loss history, also that the statements about your business piece, everything's accurate, and if you scroll down, you'll see a bit more information about the acknowledgements there. So we can exit off of that, Vanessa. And so once the customer has read and agreed with those statements and you've got that agreement, you can then click continue. On the next slide, this is going to be the final slide before you hit the payment screen. What you're going to need to do is you'll have to tick both boxes. So not only is the customer, which is yourself, and then also the end customer, agreeing to accept delivery of the insurance policy and all other related documents via email, electronic transaction, but also that you've read the information below, which is predominantly the fraud warning and the policy cancellation terms, and you confirm it's correct. At this point, you can go back through the application information if you want by clicking that arrow, but you'll have already gone through it before as you put this into Appulate and then moved over to the Hiscox system. So when you click continue there, you'll then move on to the payment screen. And similar to what you see if you have Amazon or if you're doing any other journey in your personal life, you'll see that once you click one of those options, whether we pay monthly or make one annual payment, you'll be met with the option to put in a credit card number, debit card number, name on card, and then the CVV there. And then once you put in a successful credit card or debit card, then if you scroll down, Vanessa, you'll see there's the complete button, and then that would take you through, and that would initiate the binding of the policy, and your policy documents would then be automatically sent to you, all risks, and the customer within 30 minutes. So that's really it. That is the entire integration. So as I mentioned, the Hiscox Now portal, this isn't about using the Appulate platform instead of using the Hiscox Now portal if you're familiar with that portal and that's something that you are currently doing business through. But we're hoping that it's going to give you that opportunity to be able to transact more business where you currently do business. So if you're already in Appulate doing workers' compensation risks, hopefully this will give you more opportunity not to have to, switch between systems when you're doing quotes and submissions. And then also, if Appulate is your preferred system on a day-to-day basis, you're going to be in there more, and that'll obviously be appealing to yourselves. So that's everything that I had on the demo. Pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Will. Well said. I just have one other thing to go over here, and it's setup, just to make sure that everybody on this call is set up and can start using this today. So everyone that was invited already has Appulate credentials. You can go to appulate.com/sign-in and enter in your email address and your Appulate password. If you do not recall your Appulate credentials, you can click on Forgot Password and reset that. Once you are signed in, you do want to make sure that you have the Uplink tool installed. It installs as a print driver on your desktop, and it does so in less than 1 minute. It can be found here under Tools and Appulate Uplink. So if you don't already have that installed, go ahead and go here and choose your management system from the drop-down menu and click on this link to install. Again, it takes just less than 1 minute. If you're already using it for Appulate, you do not need to reinstall it. It's good to go. All of your users are managed here under Setup and Users. So if you wanted to go through your user list and add people on or deactivate users, you're more than welcome to. I also want to point out that if you do not have an Accord form filled out, and if you wanted to start directly from Appulate, you certainly can. Just log into Appulate. This very first option here is Add New Customer or Prospect. So you'll type in the insured's name, click Continue. On this next screen, choose the line of business, click Continue. And then you're right back to where we were before. You'll add all risks as your market and answer all of the questions that are missing and required. So again, 2 ways to start. If you have your Accord form, please uplink it so that you don't have to rekey any information. Print it from your Accord PDF or management system into Appulate. If you don't have the Accord form, you can start from Appulate. It's just those 2 initial steps to get the record going. With that all said, I hope that you found this webinar informative. We will open it up for questions, and while we do so, I'll leave it on this slide so that you can jot down Will's email address and his phone number in case you have any questions after the webinar. At this time, if there are any questions, we're happy to take those now. Last call for any questions.
And while people are thinking about maybe a final question, I will just say this. So my contact information is on here. This is purely for the use of the Appulate platform. So to reach out to me if you've got any questions about how to use that. But with regards to the overall partnership or Hiscox Now as a whole, then I would recommend reaching out to All Risks on this and Jason Hayes. If you need his contact information, you can of course reach out to me to get that. But I believe that most of you, or maybe some of you, will have that information already. So just to stress, this is for the Appulate partnership rather than a broader questions to me.
Very good. Well, thank you, Will, and thank you everyone so much for joining us on this call today. We hope to be hearing from you soon if you do have any questions or need any assistance. And Will, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Vanessa.
Bye-bye now.